Hello, welcome to Africa Decoded, the platform where Africa's stories are broken down, examined, and explained beyond the headlines. If it matters in Africa, we decode it with fact, context, and clarity. So let's begin. Here's what's happening. Sudan and South Sudan have agreed to resume operation at the Heglig and Bamboo oil fields following disruption caused by ongoing fighting in Sudan's oil-producing regions. South Sudan's Foreign Minister Monday Samaya Kumba announced the agreement after high-level talks in Port Sudan. You know that Heglig is Sudan's largest oil field, processed crude oil from South Sudan, unity state, and is critical to both countries' economies. So the agreement includes cooperation on security, oil production, trade, and infrastructure protections. A South Sudanese technical delegation also held talks with Sudanese petroleum officials to ensure the safe resumption of production and continued export through Port Sudan. Separately, Rapid Support Force, or RSF, confirmed a visit by Deputy Commander Abdelrahman Dagalo to Heglig, highlighting ongoing contestation over the strategic oil facility. Restarting oil operation is vital for both economies, but continued fighting and competition armed control threaten the stability of production and exports. So why this matters is that direct economic impact on two countries. So oil revenue is critical for both economies, involves contest Heglig oil field with RSF. It affects regional energy security, and also it could determine the economic viability of both nations. So moving on to the next part. A prosecution witness testified before a special court in Juba that first Vice President Dr. Riek Machar allegedly communicated with SPLM-IO commanders and White Army fighters before the March 2025 attack on the SSPDF garrison in Nasir. So the witness described escalating tensions, joint operation between SPLM-IO forces and the White Army, and multiple assaults on the garrison that result in heavy casualties. Dr. Riek Machar and several co-accused face charges including murder, treason, conspiracy, terrorism, and crimes against humanity. The trial is set to resume on December 19, 2025, with defense cross-examination expected. The testimony intensified political and legal pressure on both leadership and could further strain South Sudan's fragile peace process. So why this matters is that this treason charge include the first vice president, who is the signatory of the 2018 peace agreement, and this could collapse the unity government and reignite another civil war. So this also represents existential threat to political stability within South Sudan. So moving on to the next news. Sudanese political parties, rebel groups, and civil organizations signed a declaration in Nairobi calling for an end to the war and rebuilding of Sudan. The Declaration of Principles for Building a New Homeland rejects military solutions, calls for a 3-month ceasefire, and supports civilian governance. It also urged the designation of the former ruling National Congress Party, which is NCP, and the Islamic movement as terrorist organization. So the NCP rejected the declaration, accusing signatories of siding with RSF. So the declaration also reflects growing civilian opposition to the war, but deep political division and armed actors limit immediate impact on the ground. So why this is important is that major civilian-led peace initiative represent broad coalition against the ongoing war in Sudan, potential turning point in Sudan's conflict if gain traction again. So it shows organized civilians resistant to military rule. So the other one is that the Sudan's People's Liberation Movement in Opposition, or SPLM-IO, has appointed 5 acting county commissioners in Western Equatorial State, according to official letter ordered by the party's leadership. The appointments were made by Right Honorable Oyet Nathaniel Perino, acting chairman and commander-in-chief of the party, under powers granted to him by the parties in 2015 constitution and resolution of its national conferences. The order, dated on Monday, December 15, 2025, takes immediate effect. So those appointed are Colonel Alex Carney John Mactab, acting commissioner, Tomboro County, Colonel Martin Alfonso Rafael, Acting Commissioner Maridi County, Brigadier General Charles Nasuna Kilopa, Acting Commissioner Muvolo County, Brigadier General Benjamin Sibit Mukubu, Acting Commissioner Mundri East County, Brigadier General Michael Monday Dijaro, Acting Commissioner Mundri West County. The observers views the move as part of efforts to strengthen governance structure in areas allocated to SPLM-IO under the revitalized Agreement on the Resolution of Conflict in South Sudan, or RACSIS. Government in Western Equatoria has remained contested following the dismissal of former Governor Lieutenant General Alfred Futuyo Karaba, whose whereabouts is unknown till date. By press time, the ruling SPLM-IG had not issued any official response, so the appointment signaled the SPLM-IO's attempt to assert administrative controls in areas allocated to it under the peace agreement in 2018, highlighting unresolved power struggles and weak local governance in Western Equatoria. So why this is important is that this signals power struggles between government factions and also reflects unresolved governance issues under the peace agreement. Also, the missing of the governor at Intrigue demonstrate parallel government structures forming. So moving on to the next one. Lawmakers in South Sudan's Transitional National Legislative Assembly raised concern over deteriorating security in Juba following the killing of lawmaker Luka Mathen Topin Luke. MPs called for urgent investigation, accountability, and improved civilian protection, warning that gun violence in the capital is becoming increasingly widespread. The killing of the lawmaker highlights the worsening security situation in South Sudan, or the capital in specific, and exposes the state's limited ability to protect even high-profile figures within South Sudan. So why this is important is that capital security breakdown, killing of lawmakers shows the state cannot protect even elites, indicates that it's also a potential state of collapse, which reflects a total breakdown of law and order within the capital or within the seat of the government. The other news is that Sudan Sovereign Council Chairman and Army Chief Abdel Fattah Al-Burhan has ordered authorities to stop withholding identity documents from citizens, including political opponents facing legal proceedings. Speaking at the opening of the National ID Center in Port Sudan on December 17, 2025, Al-Burhan said no citizen should be deprived of passport, national ID cards, or national certificates, stressing that criminal cases should not be used to deny identification documents. The directive follows earlier instruction issued in February, though officials have noted that implementation requires amendment to existing laws governing travel bans. Under current proposals, individuals may hold passport for identification purposes while remaining barred from international travel if legally restricted. Amending the regulation requires approval by a joint session of the Sovereign Council and the Council of Ministers, which currently exercise legislative authority. The decision may ease political pressure and rights concern, but its impact will depend on legal reform and actual enforcement amid Sudan's ongoing war. Why this matters is that human rights development affects political prisoner and citizens, requires legal reform, shows some political opening, but implementation is uncertain and impact limited compared to active conflicts within Sudan itself. So moving on to the next news is that U.S. President Donald Trump has signed a proclamation expanding travel restriction on foreign nationals, including South Sudanese citizens. Full entry bans were imposed to nationals from 5 countries, while partial restrictions were applied to 15 others. The White House said the measures are aimed at addressing security concerns and improving risk assessment for incoming travelers. So the restriction increase diplomatic strain and limit mobility for affected nationals, reflecting broader shifts toward stricter U.S. immigration and security policies. So why this is important is that why this matters is that it affects South Sudanese international mobility, diplomatic implications, but primarily administrative impact rather than immediate crisis. So external policy decision rather than regional development also. So these were the news that I brought to you from Africa Decoded, and thank you so much for staying with us. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button and tell us in the comment section what topic should we cover more in depth, because we are having documentaries and other formats coming up. Thanks so much.